Mr. President, thank you. And, it's nearing the end of the week, and normally that's when I come down to the Senate floor to do my try to make it weekly, Alaskan of the Week speech. Now, I know for the Pages, this is their favorite speech of the week. You get to hear about Alaska, you get to hear about some great Alaskan doing some great stuff. I usually try to give a little update about what's going on in our great state because it's always something interesting. And then I encourage people watching on TV, come on up to Alaska. You're going to have the trip of a lifetime if you do it. So, Mr. President, today the Alaskan of the Week is someone very special to me and my wife. I'm going to talk in detail about all she's done for our state. Her name is Kathlene Rowell. And she has worked for me in Alaska going on 15 years, Mr. President. You understand that as a former governor where you have great staff that do amazing things, not just for you and your team, but for the whole state. Her title in the office has been Deputy State Director, but she has been so much more than that. She has literally been the glue that has kept my whole team together, not just since I've been in the Senate, but even before I became a senator. So I'm going to talk about Kathlene real quick here in a minute as the Alaskan of the Week. She so much deserves it. Just wanted to mention a few things. We're all, of course, praying for the people impacted by the fires in California. We're all ready to stand by to help. States are coming together. My state is certainly a state that understands natural disasters. And, even in Alaska right now, Anchorage just last week, didn't make any news down here, was hit with hurricane force winds on Sunday up to 130 miles an hour. A lot of people, hundreds were without power, a lot of property damage. So, we're thinking about our Alaskan colleagues who were hit by that hurricane, there's no other word, typhoon. And of course, praying for everybody in Los Angeles. With a state and population that big, we all know people. I have a good college roommate, buddy of mine, Tom McMillan. My two sister-in-laws, Janine and Jennifer, they're all being real negatively impacted by that. So we're thinking about them, Mr. President. In Alaska, I always like to give an update. The sun is actually coming back. We hit the winter solstice. In Anchorage, we're gaining about 4 minutes of sun a day. In Fairbanks, we're gaining about 5 minutes of sun a day. And in about a week, January 22nd, the sun will rise again in Utqiagvik, Alaska, Barrow, Alaska, the top of North America. That will be the first time the sun comes up over the horizon in 2 months. So they get a dark winter, and it's cold up there. The Iditarod, the last great race, is coming up March 2nd. So again, if you're thinking about coming to Alaska, don't think just the summer. Come on up in the winter too, it's great. So that's a little bit of update, Mr. President, what's going on. Now, back to Kathlene Rowell, the rock in our office, whose last day, it breaks my heart, breaks my wife Julie's heart. Her last day was yesterday. So, a little bit about background about Kathlene. She moved with her family to Alaska from Chicago when she was 3 years old. Her father worked in the oil fields and had been commuting to Alaska, Illinois, Chicago, back and forth. He thought it was time for the family to come together, so they settled in beautiful Eagle River, Alaska, a gorgeous, and I mean gorgeous, patriotic community, mountainous community right outside of Anchorage. Kathlene went to Chugiak High, go Mustangs. She was an excellent, driven student. Anyone who knows Kathlene knows that excellence is her motto. Everything she does is excellent. But we got confirmation from her good friend Robin Ingibis on my staff, my deputy chief of staff here in D.C., who went to school with Kathlene and remains very close, that yes, Kathlene was a straight A student. We knew that. She showed horses. She worked at the coffee shop in Eagle River called Jitters, a mainstay in that great community. She excelled academically, went to college first in Colorado, then in Washington State, did a semester with the National Outdoor Leadership, which she loved, and then came back to Alaska, finished up, and graduated from Alaska Pacific University, which very importantly, she did well there, but really, really importantly, she met her husband, Ben, who is a great guy. Great guy. They're a great couple. So that's Kathlene's early background. She then worked in the Parks Division of Parks and Rec, right, at the Department of Natural Resources. That's when I first met her. I was the new commissioner at DNR. We call it DNR in Alaska. That covers everything in Alaska. We worked in the same building. I was a brand new commissioner, and I was looking for a special assistant. A young, smart, talented, special assistant as the commissioner of the Department of Natural Resources. Now, Mr. President, this is a big job, right? If Alaska were its own country, it would be the envy of the world in terms of resources, strategic location, critical minerals, our military, you name it. DNR has a lot of responsibility over all these things. Matter of fact, Mr. President, not to go on a tangent here, but I had an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal today entitled "Greenland is nice, but Alaska's better." It goes into all this stuff about how great Alaska is, so I'd like to submit that for the record at the end of my remarks, just to give you a sense of our great state there. It's a good read. But, so I needed a special assistant, and I was looking at all these resumes and these lawyers and stuff, and here's, for the young pages, this is the value of what they call an elevator speech. You've heard of an elevator speech, right? You got to make a pitch, you got to make it quick. So I'm getting on the elevator. Kathlene at the time, she's probably early 20s. She's very young looking, so then she looked a lot younger than her early 20s. And she gets on the elevator, and boy, oh boy, it was the elevator pitch. Commissioner Sullivan, I understand you're looking for a special assistant. The elevator's going up. All these people are listening. I believe I have the qualities, the hard work, the ethics, the commitment to excellence to be your special assistant. I'd like to come by your office and interview. Boom, the door opens. I'm like, dang, that was impressive. Elevator pitch. So she made that. She came in, interviewed, and I was like, I am hiring her. None of these gung-ho, highfalutin lawyers. I'm going to put my trust in this young Alaskan. And boy, oh boy, I'm so glad I did it. It was the best elevator pitch I've ever seen. Kathlene rolled up her sleeves and learned everything she could. And before you knew it, she was running the Department of Natural Resources, which in Alaska is the giant organization. Hundreds and hundreds of people, the key to our economy. She was working with my other special assistant, John Katchen. She was hugely essential to the things we got done at our Department of Natural Resources. We negotiated against ExxonMobil for a giant natural gas deal. You want to talk about a tough thing? Exxon brings in like 25 lawyers to negotiate against a group of 3 of us, right? We took them down. She organized summits. She helped us redo our state's oil tax regime, which is creating a big spur of development right now. Kathlene was essential in all of this, bringing more producers up to Alaska, a great teammate. Her heart was in serving our state. Fast forward a few years, Mr. President, I'm going to run for the U.S. Senate. Not an easy run. A lot of good Republicans in the primary. There was a Democrat incumbent here. That's never easy. And the first person I said I'm going to hire on my campaign team, first person, was Kathlene. Now, it was a risk. She had a 1-year-old at home at the time, Benjamin, and who's now joined by his brother, Miles. By the way, Kathlene is a great mom. Her boys are now 12 and 9. When she first started working for me, she had no kids. She's got a beautiful family with her husband, Ben, and her 2 wonderful boys. But it was a risk. She had a great state job. and she's gonna, join this guy throwing his hat in the ring. And, I'm not so sure it was looking like a easy deal, but she left her her secure state job. First person I hired on my campaign, organized it, traveled, and Mr. President, I'm pretty sure I would not have won without Kathlene's great work. That was in 2014. Then she stayed in our office in Alaska, became the deputy state director. And you know how it is, Mr. President. She's been with me and my team, my wife, longer than any other staff member, and she's done an incredible job. Now, we all know how important staff are, both here in D.C. and especially back home. They work hard. Let's face it, government jobs aren't always the best. You certainly could probably be making more money in the private sector. The hours can be grueling, but great staff, they're vital to what we do. They're vital to the work that we get done here in the Senate, in D.C., and really vital back home, where the work they do for our constituents and the places they travel to are essential. They're essential. And here's a big thing, Mr. President, as you know, the help that our offices back home do to work for the people we are honored to represent is vital, because there's so many giant federal agencies, Social Security, the VA, IRS, the Department of Defense, Immigration, that are giant labyrinths that people don't know how to get through. Our federal government can be unwieldy and often unforgiving. So when Alaskans need help on all those things, Social Security checks, VA benefits, we're the state with more veterans per capita than any state in the country. Medicare, the IRS comes screwing up something. They come to us, and we work on these cases. This is a rough number, but since I've been in office, our Alaska staff has worked on more than 12,000 of these cases, and they're really complicated, and they take hours and hours. We always have at least one person attached to these cases, something they'll always remember, and their lives are impacted by whether they're resolved in a good way or bad way. And Mr. President, as I'm sure you probably believe, you don't always hear about this part of the job of representing people in our great republic, but in my view, it's probably the best part of the job, because you have a direct impact on someone you represent, and you can literally change their lives. We do that. We put our heart and soul into it. But nobody, Mr. President, has put their heart and soul into it more than Kathlene. She has made all of this happen, the 12,000 cases. Now, I also have a fantastic director of constituent services in Anchorage, Carrie Kyle, who has completed more than 3,600 of these cases herself. She's amazing. But here's what Carrie said about Kathlene. Kathlene is at the helm of the ship. She's the captain of the ship. She makes all of this possible. She's the master communicator. Her loyalty and integrity to the people of Alaska are unmatched. That's what you want with great staff. Margaret Sharp, she runs our Mat-Su Valley regional area, our regional director, Margaret, who does a great job. She calls Kathlene our hero. Quote, she is our conscience. She is the gatekeeper of decorum. She is all about kindness and respect. She keeps all of us kind. Isn't that a great compliment? That's from Margaret on my team. Elena Spraker, another great member of my team. Our Kenai Regional Director on the Kenai Peninsula, covers Kodiak as well. Elena does a great job. Says that she has never worked with anyone with more skills than Kathlene. Elena says, Kathlene is our rock. And I agree, Mr. President, that is so true. You know, Mr. President, in our line of work, in elected jobs, whether governors or commissioners or senators, we all know that certain people have an impact that goes way beyond just the work that they do. And Kathlene is one of those. She has worked so hard, often at the sacrifice of time with her beautiful boys and family and her husband, but she set the bar so high on professionalism, in excellence, in everything she does, that everybody around her in our Anchorage office, in our Alaska offices, in our DC offices, everybody around her, myself included, gets lifted up and made better and has improved by being in Kathlene's orbit. Those are special people. And Mr. President, that's what Kathlene is. Now, she's been a loyal employee, certainly to me and my wife, Julie. There was a little going away party for her back home in Anchorage 2 days ago. Fortunately, Julie was able to make it. But throughout all, it's not just loyalty to us, it's to the people of Alaska, to helping people, to helping our state move forward. And as I said, Mr. President, yesterday was Kathlene's last day. She's going to bring these same skills to a really great credit union in Anchorage. Their gain, our loss, but she's always going to be a member of Team Sullivan. Kathlene, we always say staff is like family here, but Kathlene truly is like family for me and my wife, Julie. We definitely would not have gotten this far without her. We're going to miss her terribly. So Kathlene, thank you. Thanks for your great work. Good luck in your new job. From the bottom of my heart and Julie's heart, thanks for all you've done for me and Julie, our office, our state, our country, and of course, I hope you are honored by one of the most prestigious awards anyone can get in America by being our Alaskan of the Week. Congratulations, Kathlene. Godspeed. I yield the floor.